Hello, and welcome to the Intuitive Rising podcast. I am so glad you're here. I'm your host, Amy Brookes, and up until about 5 years ago, I was just your average mom of 3. It was after the sudden loss of my father that my life changed forever, and the rising within me began. In this podcast, we will talk all things spiritual and healing through a very grounded and relatable approach. I hope you'll join me, remembering who you always were as we rise together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Intuitive Rising podcast. I'm your host, Amy Brookes, and we have an exciting one today. We have a guest on the podcast. Everyone, welcome Karen Leitz. Welcome, Karen. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm so excited to join you. It's an honor to be a part of the Intuitive Rising community and to be able to chat with you today and, tell all our stories and hopefully help some others.
Yeah, amazing. I was so grateful for you. I'm grateful for you in general, but because we kind of have become friends outside of, client and medium. And, this episode was really inspired because you reached out to me. Maybe it might have been as long as like 5 or 6 weeks ago now. I don't really know. Maybe it's been a month. I don't know. But in the past, you reached out to me and you sent me this beautiful unexpected voice note about how your experience with me has really impacted you and changed your life. And you said, I need the people to know what this can do. And I thought, my goodness, can we do a podcast on this? And you graciously said yes. So thank you so much for being open and putting yourself out there. It's not always the easiest thing to do, to share your experiences. But I also know that you are, a giver and a teacher and a light worker. And so, of course, you would want to share to help others in any capacity. And this is the one we're going to talk about today. This is the way. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah, I'm super excited. Super excited.
We were having a laugh before I hit record because Karen's dog is, anytime we chat, the dog is like nuts. and if you recall, an episode I did in the past was on animal communication and how that's not uncommon. Animals like to come in on sessions. Sometimes people will say, oh my goodness, my dog is never scratching at my office door when I'm in here, but he will not leave me alone as we're doing this session. That's not uncommon. Yes. So Comet is definitely sensitive to energy. Maybe he has something to say.
He is every single time. Every time. He's at my feet. Well, a lot of the times, but there is something about that energy that animals do pick up on. And in my mind, they sure do.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. So this is going to be very conversational style. We'll just see how it flows. Karen and I, anytime we talk for hours. So I don't think that we'll have any problem with conversation today. But I guess I'll start with what inspired you to book a medium session in the first place? What drew you to that world?
I suppose so. A couple of years ago, my mother has passed away, and and growing up, I've always knew there was something more beyond this. I always had a feeling like there was something more. Hard to explain. I think people may have experienced some of those things. Like if I'm washing my face, I just feel like there's somebody standing behind me, and I'll wipe my face off and there's nobody there. There's just, I've always kind of felt that there was, but when her passing had happened, things really kind of unraveled a little bit more. Signs started to show up. I started hearing more things in my, talking in my head, in my sleep. Things that I just thought, gosh, what's happening? And I reached out to a friend, and she suggested going to a person. So the person was actually a Reiki kind of medium person. And that just was that kind of just opened the doors to wow, there is more. There's more to this than I ever imagined that even existed before. And then what led me to you as this, it's just like one person says something and then another, and like you say, follow the breadcrumbs, and
Yeah,
it's going to lead you to what you need to know
that's
next,
right.
or the people, or whatever you're looking for. What you're seeking will find you. And I just started kind of looking on social media, looking for more spiritual guidance.
Hmm.
And I don't know, Amy, you just like, you came into my life, and for a reason that, and a time that I needed it. And
Hmm.
that's how I ended up with you for my first session.
Wow. So it was organically based rather than referral.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And the last episode that I recorded, it was all about what to expect out of a session. And I do kind of talk about how to find the right medium for you. And so I give some tips, and I share how people find me, and it's heavily referral based. But also I hear all the time, I don't know, I just found you, and I don't know. It was just like I was being pulled in by something. So
Yes.
I often say to my clients, because I did set the intention when I started doing this work that I wanted the right people to find me, like people that our energy was aligned, that I knew I could make an impact on, and they would make an impact on me. And it would be this like mutually beneficial kind of experience. And so that's what I asked for. And so it's that way every time. Like it feels like I'm meeting a new member of my soul family every session that I do. And I think that the people in spirit, or your spirit guides, or dependent on what we're connecting to, like what kind of reading we're doing, I do feel like the right person is brought to the right medium, right? Like I feel like it could be dependent on that medium's experiences, or their toolkit in some way, which would help them understand or better relate to, or be able to interpret what needs to come through for you, right? Because I think that it's important that the medium has this kind of reservoir of experiences and life experiences, because then they have this ability to relate and
Oh,
properly
for sure.
interpret.
Yes.
Yeah, so I will notice a theme in readings that I do, right? Where it's like, that's there's always a commonality between my clients and me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we just were a good energetic match, and so I'm glad that you trusted the breadcrumbs.
I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And um it is just like, it has just been an awesome, it's just been awesome since, well, and we've done a couple, like
Yeah. Yeah, we
we've done a
have.
couple.
Yeah. I'm trying to think when you entered my life. It's at least been a year.
Yes.
Maybe? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And even when we started, like this, and this is something too, is it wasn't like I just booked a medium session with you to start. Like we conversed through social media for a while, and just on timing, and I wanted it just to kind of be so, like, I was very intentional about
Mm-hmm.
when I was going to set it up with you for our
Mm-hmm.
first meeting. I wanted it at the beginning of the year because I wanted 2022 to just like be behind me. I
Yeah.
wanted to start fresh in 2023. And so I specifically wanted the beginning of the year. And remember too, you said, "Oh, you're going to be my
Yeah.
first reading, and this is exciting to
Yeah.
start off 2023." And then it fell through. Like
Mm-hmm.
you were not feeling well, so we had
Mm-hmm.
to rebook, and just the timing of our rebook, and just, yeah,
It all worked out.
it was all so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Because
was definitely meant to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that I wasn't feeling well. I was starting on a new medication, and I just was really not at my best self. And I always aim to be at my best self when I'm doing this work, obviously. And yeah, I don't remember when we were scheduled. I know it was soon after, like within the month, I feel. Um, but was that time? Does the timing of the reschedule not super relevant in some way?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
10th, February 10th.
Okay, I'm having a moment because I don't know if I've attached that. What was significant about the 10th of February for you? Because I have a significant
It
event.
wasn't. It
It
wasn't. I
wasn't,
just
but for
picked the
me,
10th. For you, it was.
it was. That's right.
Yes.
Because my
Yep.
mind was like, what?
Yes.
Right. Right. Because I've been very open and shared that I have had a baby loss, and that, my little guy, Henry, who I named Henry, is in spirit. And that happened. I lost him on February 10th. And
Yeah.
that's right, because I remember putting out to you, okay, like you let me know when you can next be available. And you said that date. And I thought, oh, there's something to this. Because why that date of all dates? Because I always kind of intentionally think about him And then we had a little person in spirit come through for you.
Right. Which is
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
synchronicity too, because my husband and I also lost a child, and her
Yes.
name was Abby. And
My daughter's name is Abby. Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, there was yeah. I was like, okay, our little ones in spirit are definitely joining us on this special day for
Yeah.
this reason. Yeah, I always that's it. That's another example of following the breadcrumbs too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just yeah, totally. Spirit works through all of us. So thank you for candidly sharing those personal details about you and how you got even interested in mediumship. And it's interesting that you found somebody that initially was the first reading you had was with a Reiki practitioner, but also a medium. A lot of people that I hear that do this work got into this work through Reiki, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
It definitely can open you up to more when you are attuned to Reiki. You're attuned to Reiki as well,
Yep.
is that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
So have you found, I know this is not a question I gave you ahead of time, but have you found that your own connection, your intuitive connection, has intensified or
Mm-hmm.
deepened with your Reiki?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was part of, like you say, following those breadcrumbs. It's like, I never ever thought that I would do, like, I'd never even heard of it before,
Yeah.
of Reiki. And so I knew I wanted to before
Yes.
I even kind of went to a Reiki person, um, medium. And then that just kind of, it just
Snowballed.
flowed.
Yeah.
And yes, you just raise your vibration. You're attuned to a higher vibration. You sense and feel things. You're more aware
Yeah.
of things, which then is good and bad because then it's like you want to know all the things. Like I, by nature, I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner, and I then now am in this full mode of tell me everything. I need to
Yeah.
know everything. And sometimes that's not good because knowing a lot and then what to do with that is
Yeah.
like overcome, like there's too much.
Too much
So
information.
yes, it does bring more awareness to around what's around you. Yes, for sure.
Do you believe in the concept of like things happening in divine timing? So, like, or, that you were led to Reiki or to mediumship at a time in your life where it was meant to happen versus if you had tried to do that way earlier in your life, like what, like, because I hear from people when they go through their spiritual awakening or they kind of tap into their inherent intuitive gifts that they say, it's almost like a grieving process of, oh my goodness, like, why didn't I know this before? This could have helped me overcome so many obstacles and challenges. And I even went through that myself because I didn't step into my mediumship until I was 38. And I thought, my goodness, I always knew I was connected to spirit. If only I could have learned to trust when I was 18 or 20 versus 38. Like, all that time was wasted. And spirit's reminding me now, because I'm covered in goosebumps, that no time is ever wasted. And I obviously needed to gather all those life experiences to be able to handle it, right? Like, because I always say spirit won't give you more than you can handle.
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
good segue too into this topic.
Yeah. I know. I have always wondered that. It's like, Kyle, like first of all, yes, divine timing for sure. And I've asked myself the same question, and I've asked my friends this, and I think you and I have talked about this. It's like, why didn't I know this like before? Like, why
Yes.
wouldn't I have known this like when I was younger? Why did I not experience this when we lost our child? Like
Right.
this what I know now could have just been so helpful then, but I don't think I would have been ready. I don't know if I would have received. I don't know if I would have been open at the time that I was. And to be honest, like someone had said, when you talk about healing, when people talk about like, I am broken, I am broken, I'm broken. I don't believe we're ever broken. I believe we're always here. We're brought here and we are whole. We're going to experience loss. We're going to experience grief. We're going to experience trials and tribulations in the body that we have. But all we're doing is trying to find our way back again. We're finding our way back to self. And that healing piece is that lost piece. Like, I've lost something, and that was a part of me, but I'm not broken. I just need to find my way back to myself. And I think this spiritual journey that I am on, and I hope other people can jump on too, can be exactly that healing journey for them.
Yeah.
And it is all divine timing, for sure, divine timing.
Yeah, I think this is a really important conversation. I think it's a conversation that people are talking about more. Like, this is certainly becoming a bit more mainstreamed, or people are moving through fears and, like, just giving it a try. I can't tell you how often I hear from people that are like, I don't know, but like, I'm willing to give it a try. And I think that's so hopeful, that conversations and mindsets are beginning to change.
I do. I really,
Hmm.
really believe. Well, could it be we're going into the age of Aquarius? Maybe that could be like a huge
Yeah.
shift. Also, is people are wanting more. They're
More.
really trying to find their purpose. Like, what is my purpose? What am I here to be? What am I meant to do? Like, what is my soul trying to tell me?
Hmm.
But they get their stuff gets in their head. Like, things
Yeah.
get in their head that I can't do that, I shouldn't do that, and we don't
Yeah.
listen. We don't listen to that.
Yeah, I see the like the collective kind of healing happening in layers and stages, which I think we have to. And when somebody goes through a spiritual awakening, it's often in those layers and chunks, right? So yeah, I think it's important. You're really talking about mindset. That's the kind of think the first stage, and so it also, is not a coincidence that there's more and more and more in the last decade talk about mindset and mindfulness, and I think that's where we start, and then we just keep peeling back the layers and expanding and expanding and
Yeah.
expanding. So I feel really hopeful that, by the time I am a very old lady, this will be much more mainstream and people will be self-healers. They'll be
Yes.
self-healers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
excites me. It excites me for sure. So this was the next question was this your first experience with a medium? It was not, because you've had that experience before with the person that was doing a Reiki healing treatment as well. Was it a
Yep.
combined thing with that person?
So yes, so I've seen a few.
Okay.
Two different people, one repeat. So
Yeah.
the first was just a regular medium. We spent a lot of time just going through a lot of different things, like
Mm-hmm.
in conversation, which was great. Like, that was kind
Mm-hmm.
of my first introduction to like the chakras,
Right.
spirit guides, just the different spiritual pieces and facets
Mm-hmm.
of all of this, which was very enlightening and
Mm-hmm.
really opened my mind to the things that are out there, which again I didn't know. And then yes, then the mediumship was Reiki. Where like it was
Okay.
Reiki, but things were coming through as Reiki. And some people don't.
Right.
That doesn't happen when people do Reiki. Some, just based on the skills and the talents that they have.
Yep.
Um, and not to say that it never will. It just it's their skill set of
Yep.
what's for them. And so, and I saw her a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah, it wasn't my first time before
Mm-hmm.
seeing you, but it was very different. Like, I think it's very different, and I think people need to know too that readers read differently and how they give the information
Mm-hmm.
and how the sitter perceives that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. So
Okay.
your what you do is very different than like what the other two mediums that I saw do. So
Okay.
when you are an evidential medium,
Okay.
psychic medium, but a lot of people wouldn't know what that is. So can
Right.
you share what that is?
Yeah, of course. I love that you're bringing this up. It's so timely as well, because when I was recording another episode of this podcast, just yesterday, it was the episode before this one, about what to expect in a reading. I explained what that is, what an evidential medium is, and so I will do it again, because I think it's important. It's an important distinction for me, actually. Like, that's purposely put there. Evidential means that when I'm connecting to either your energy as a living person, or I'm connecting to the energy of someone that has passed and is now in the spiritual realm, I am able to be a translator for them. So I'm not just bringing through maybe loving messages or guidance. I'm also bringing through specific examples of their existence, their relationship to you, and even how they are still witnessing and a part of your life, your current life, by, bringing through things that have happened since they've passed that they are aware of. And so that's what evidential means. It means that I bring through evidence of life after death. And I think that's important because I've gone on record to say many times that although spirituality has always kind of been a part of my inner world, and I've always felt, I always trusted and knew there was something, I struggled a little bit with like, but is this my imagination? But at the same time, not knowing that it wasn't my imagination, but I just kept going back and forth with that, which is really, really normal. And so for me, I guess there's a little bit of a natural skepticism with, okay, but am I just making this up? And if I have that, I call it building of the power. So as I'm connecting to somebody's energy, that's in spirit, I will just kind of bring through those specific pieces of evidence. So I might describe the relationship. So in your case, I feel like I have a mother here. I feel like this is what's coming through potentially that she looked like. This is something about her personality. This is something that she enjoyed. This is a memory of yours together. And this is something that she's witnessed since she's been transitioned to the spirit world. And after I've done that, not only have I built my own kind of power, raised my vibration to be totally receptive to then really be that communicator and truly channel, it's not only beneficial for me as the medium, but I feel like for the client, it's so impactful because you're just like, what? Like that is so specific that by the time I get to your mother loves you and she's so proud of you, you are all in. There's probably no doubts. And if there are, they're definitely shrinking. And so I feel like my purpose is to expand your consciousness and to help you heal. And so if I can do that by giving you a little bit more than your mom loves you and she's in the spirit world, like your mind might still go, but was she really with my mom? Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have said to me that working with an evidential medium has helped them work through the doubts of that because they know that I've been with their mom. So that's why I am an evidential medium. And I didn't seek out, like, I didn't even know what that term meant when I started doing this work. It's not like I sought that out. It just kind of came to me that this is what I do. And then it's funny because now I see that term being used more often by certain mediums in social media. And I'm like, interesting, right? It was a thing and I didn't know it was a thing because I'd never heard of somebody calling themselves an evidential psychic medium. Like, I don't think that people like Teresa Caputo, like, I don't know if she goes on stage and says, I'm an evidential psychic medium. I believe she is, but I don't know if she uses that term. So it's not something I feel like is mainstream or always connected to psychic medium.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that's why I think it's so important that you do and people know because there's differences like and it's an amazing gift you have. Like it is mind blowing of like the things that you brought in, the things that you shared. It was like, yeah.
That's my mom. Yeah.
Just and all of the things and how the reading went and we can talk about that later too down the road here, but how it's really kind of tells a story because things come in differently at different times in the reading too, and then they're weaved through, and then it's not just the evidence that you bring, Amy, it's you giving the story to the reader again, like all of the pieces that you've shared, all of the things that you brought in, then you connect the dots for the person, because the person such as myself, like I am like in like, this is amazing, this is awesome. And you're hearing the bits and pieces, but then to have the story brought back and reaffirmed is just so validating and so healing and so profound that's where I said to you when I was telling you that on the message that I shared, that you're more than, or you're not just, like, it is healing. And it is something that I believe the world does need to know more of in this time that we live in. It's life's too short. And if there, and we have it, it's just you're validating it and you're bringing in the evidence of things that we have. Right?
That's right.
It's already there. It's you're validating us as sitters to know and hear. And it's just like, it's awesome. It's just so
Thank
awesome.
you so much. I never really thought about that storytelling piece, but it's funny because, one of my main kind of pillars of this podcast is to incorporate storytelling with education and, with things about spirit. And so I love, because I never really thought of myself that way. Now, spirit has told me multiple times that I am a storyteller. And so, and I am a published author and I dream of continuing that down the road. But I never really put those pieces together, that it is about weaving a story. And I think about sometimes when I watch people do readings, maybe on TV, or I've witnessed live demonstrations, sometimes they just might put out the evidence and then not connect it. And
Right.
I never really clued in that that's something that I do. Like, I know I do it, but it's one of those things that I wasn't totally aware that I do it. That's just another layer. Thank you. I'm learning things about myself
Yeah.
through this.
Yeah.
Because I often say these pieces of evidence in the beginning may appear random, but no piece of evidence is ever wasted by spirit. It's all purposeful, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And okay, so like things that you brought in at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then other stuff came in, and
Yeah.
then it came back to what we talked about first, and then
Mm-hmm.
that connected to the things that were in the middle.
Yeah.
And the kidney thing was so okay. That was so fun. Like you kept saying something about kidneys, and I'm like, no, no, like no, and I think it isn't even during like the sitting. Somebody might not say something, but it could be after the fact, like even after something has like time has gone on, where
Mm-hmm.
then it comes back and it hits the person like, oh my gosh, like
That's what that was. Yeah.
yes, you were talking about kidneys, and I'm like, no, but then we were talking about adrenal function, and then you asked about the adrenals, and I said, well, they sit on top of your kidneys, and both you and I are
We were
like,
both like, oh, okay.
oh, yes, okay. So there's the kidney thing. So
Yeah.
it isn't
Mm-hmm.
always like what a person might not know at that, like it comes
Yeah.
back. It all,
It
whatever
always
is
comes
said
back.
always comes back
That's right.
somehow, which is another an awesome, amazing thing too that I have realized when you and I chat. So
Yeah, and I think that's important for, people listening that are interested or curious about having a reading, knowing that, for the most part, I feel like everything makes sense. But there might be a few pieces where you're like, I don't know how to connect that. But if you stay open and you just hold it, right, it will make sense in time. I hear from people 6 months later, 2 years later, oh, by the way, yeah, that's what that meant. But it's also helpful for anybody listening that is working with or developing their own mediumship connection or ability. We don't, as mediums, we don't need to know what it means. We just need to say it. And you can really stop your own connection in its tracks by trying to go, I don't, okay, she said no to kidneys. Okay, so I'm way off. Okay. And you're like going back and you're asking for more. And sometimes spirit's like, no, like that's it, right? But when you question and you then start to let it cause doubts in your mind, you've weakened the connection. So I had to learn that through trial and error, through like thousands of readings over the last 5 years, that it doesn't matter if I know what it means. It's not for me. But it's human nature to want to know what it means, I guess, especially if you're a bit of a storyteller. But I'm just like, nope, kidneys. And I just have to trust it. And that's a lesson for me too, because that shows the spirit world that I trust and I am communicating for the client regardless of what I need from it, which is, what is this made?
well, I
Yeah.
know. And another thing too, like when you asked me a couple times, like, now this could be like, this might be personal, this might be hard, this might be really, difficult. Like when we talked about Abby, and I'm like, absolutely, like ask away. Like I so appreciate that, because some mediums, they might just skip over that. Like this isn't going to be good for them or whatever. It's just like what you said. This is what I hear. I need to say it. It's going to mean something to them. I love that, because then it's all out there. It's like, yes, I think, I'm open to that. And I appreciate not leaving, like if something's coming in, you're saying it or you're asking, can I say this? Right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I think that
purposeful.
comes back to trust and intention, because I set my intention to only bring through what's in this client's highest and best good. And I'm not a fear-based reader, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I trust that if I'm bringing through a situation such as, there's a baby in spirit here. Oh gosh, I hope she's okay with talking about this. There's a level of me knowing you must be, or that piece wouldn't come through anyways, because my intention is to connect to your highest and best good. So I trust the spirit world that if they're bringing it to me, it means it's okay. But I also I have a responsibility. So I have to take an extra step and say, so I feel as if I have something about this coming through. Is it okay for me to talk about this further? Because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but I really just do that as that extra layer. I also trust, like, if it's coming in, it is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
I wouldn't. There has been times in the past, like many years ago when I first started out, where something might come in and I might go, yeah, I don't know what the heck that's about. I'm not even going to say it. And then later the person might go, so what I was wondering about was, and then I'll go, oh my God, like that already came in and I didn't say it. And it would have been more impactful if I would have just said it, like organically without them asking. So that's been a trial and error experience for me over the years, because a medium is like constantly learning. Like a medium, I feel like if a medium puts the work in and is open to expanding and maybe not ever reaching like expert status, they're always just like continually trying to get better and better and better. I think that happens.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta shed the ego if you're gonna step into the mediumship path. The ego has no place.
Right.
Maybe in your life outside of your work, but if you're walking the path of a medium, then you really need to kind of transcend that ego during your readings, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was, I appreciated it. And like you said, it was meant for me at that
Mm-hmm.
time. And another thing too is during the readings that we had, so I had an intuitive guidance. It was called
Yeah.
intuitive guidance reading. And it was an hour and a half, which I think definitely we hit that mark. Um,
Maybe more.
we won't even talk about the second one, which I think we should talk about as an option too. Like the second one, I mean, we talked for 2 hours after that one. So, like with the intuitive guidance, what I loved about that reading was it wasn't past, it was not necessarily even future, a little bit of the intention piece, but it was so awesome because you had no, like, the things that you shared that we talked about, like, you had no background, like no background
And you
of
had never
whatsoever.
talked about it.
No,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
wasn't going to, and I'm like, how long am I gonna like keep like not telling her, like, until eventually I just had to say, by the way,
Yeah.
and so my intuitive guidance, it was like now. It was like
Yeah.
what did I need to know like now for my
Yeah.
best good, which again, people that come in for a mediumship, you have that ability to tap in to the energy of what is best for them
Mm-hmm.
at their for their highest good now,
Mm-hmm.
which was so good, which was
Mm-hmm.
just fantastic. Wow, was it validating, Amy?
Thank you so much. Yeah, because, I always say, like, what's in their highest best good, and then trust that spirit knows, okay, like, there's something in her past that's holding her back that she needs to heal. If so, then they'll bring something through about the past. There's something currently right now that she's trying to weigh a decision on, or she needs her confidence built. She needs a little encouragement about right now so that she can take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people I'll bring through will be more heavily future focused. And as a preface, I always like to say when somebody brings through something about the future, it's always a high probability, because I like to empower people that the future is not set in stone and we create the future choice by choice. So, but sometimes when there's a lot of focus on the future, I know this person really needs that light at the end of the tunnel. Like, okay, this is what's possible for me. And so I'm going to, pull up my bootstraps right now with the guidance that's come in to help me get there. But it's always purposeful, like where the focus is
Mm-hmm.
on. And that's part
Yep.
of the reason why I like when you book a reading on when you're filling out the form, I ask you not to give me any information, right? It's not for me. I don't do that for me. I do it for you, because then if you're setting the intention, I would really like to hear information or guidance around my career right now, and that's the thing that I bring forward, then you know that that's your intention has been heard in some capacity. Therefore, I think it gets the wheels turning. Like, okay, so then I'm thinking this. Obviously, my thoughts, there's some sort of like cause and effect with my thoughts, like I think it's all a boomerang effect. So yeah, I think that it's a medium. I think any kind of reading that you have, if you're aligned, you're ready for it, you're with the right person, I feel like the benefits of it are far greater than just the hour and a half that you spend with the medium. Would you agree with that?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. For sure. Like the thing the things that you brought in and the people you brought in and the stories you brought in and what was said, it was like I still think about it. I still like share. I still talk. I still like review and new. I keep remembering new. Oh yeah, yeah. It's just like it sticks with you. It's like
Yes.
it is now you. It is so comforting and healing and just raises your vibration to, yeah. Mind blowing. That's just crazy.
Thank you so
The
much.
what you it isn't just this, it just isn't that hour and a half.
No,
It
it's far
it
outreach.
allows you to go forward. It allows you to move forward in a different view and a different perspective and a different meaning of what you had initially thought. Like
Right.
your mindset is totally changed.
If you're open and ready for
Absolutely.
it. Yeah. And I
Yep.
feel, and that's another piece of like, I feel like why it's important for you as the client or the sitter to kind of do your research when it comes to booking a session, because like you just said, that what comes through can become your mindset, it can become your belief system. And so if you're if you have a negative experience, which I will tell you, a lot of my clients have said, oh my god, I had a reading like 10 years ago, it was so awful, I'm just ready right now to try again with you. um,
Mhm.
that's why if you're doing this work, so any budding mediums that are listening, it's really important that you are ethical and stand in integrity and are doing this for the right reasons, because your voice can become that person's head voice, right? Like what you say and bring through affects can very much affect their life.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that both humbles me, it's also a great responsibility and I don't take it lightly. So that's a great segue. How did your person, like your own life or your views on life or the afterlife, it sounds like you're pretty open already to the idea of it. What changed in your life after your session?
Um, okay, so like you said, I was always open to it, just
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that there was
Right.
this like you said, it happens for a reason, or
Yeah.
I shouldn't say for a reason. I'm never going to go with that. It's going to events and people are put in your life at
Mm-hmm.
the time that you need them to be.
Yes.
Um, so I would say again the trust and the
Mm-hmm.
openness of this, because when we did the reading, like I think for some, okay, so I'm gonna kind of veer and then come back to this again,
Yep.
because I think with mediumship, like sometimes people just have this end game, like they are so struggling, like they are struggling of, I have lost someone, I want them back, I am hurting so bad, I have such an emptiness in me, I need to know, I need to know, I need to know, and their intention for wanting them back sometimes isn't aligned with what the purpose of having the mediumship
Mm-hmm.
is, in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. Been there. I've been there a few times. And so being open enough to go in with whatever comes in, like some people want to just say, Mom, connect me to mom, connect me to dad, connect me to
Mm-hmm.
whoever that person is,
Mm-hmm.
my child. And you can do that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think that is a way to do that. But for what I have found over the course of the ones that I've done is to be open to what does come in.
Mm-hmm.
Have that open channel, have that ability to be open to what the reader is going to be able to bring in. And I think, would you say, Amy, as a medium, like when somebody is more open than you as a reader, it's more of an open channel
It
for
feels
that.
more fluid. It feels
Yeah.
like it feels fluid rather than sometimes I feel like a closed offness with somebody. There's difference between that and like nerves versus fear. Like if somebody is terrified of what we're doing, and that's only happened once, I did have to take a moment and help that person work through it, and I offered like we can reschedule this until you
Yep.
are okay with this. We ended up proceeding because we worked through the fears and things. But absolutely, the other person, I always say the client is the most important person in this relationship, in this connection. I feel like I've reached the point in my development that when I sit down here and it's go time, I'm ready. I've best prepared myself however I can by making sure I'm in good health, that I'm not tired, that I'm not stressed. And the spirit's always ready. There's no certain time that has to go by before you can connect to your spirit loved one. It's you as the client.
Yes.
It's your readiness. And the more ready, and I find curiosity is a good piece too. If you're just, I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm really curious, that's a really good thing too. And so the most, I would say, because I think it's because I set my intentions to connect to those people. So the
Hmm.
people that book a reading I trust are open, ready, and curious. And so for the most part, every reading feels very fluid, like we had.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's helped answer your question, but
Yeah.
yes, it definitely affects, like if the other person is not open, is closed down, is fearful, or say the other person is really highly distractible, or say they are coming off a hangover, for instance. Because I know a lot of mediums will say, like, I'm not going to read for you if you've been intoxicated in the last 24 hours, I don't like, you do you, but like if you're not in the right headspace, your messages might not come in as fluidly.
Yeah.
I'll still perceive the energy. I'll still be able to bring through things through, but they might come in more like a little choppier rather than like a very fluid connection. So I think it's important that the sitter trusts has a level of trust with the medium because they've been referred, or they've read the reviews, or they've had conversations with them, or they've checked out the social media. There needs to be that level of trust, and there needs to be that level of readiness within you. And I think it's about being open to what you need versus what you want. And I think the more open you are, the more those two desires align. Because I think for the most part, like, would it be fair to say that what you wanted and what you needed were probably closely aligned in the moment? Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
because you were open. Yeah, yeah. It's funny you're bringing this up too, because in a episode I just did, I was talking about like what you could expect from a reading, and I was giving these examples of how I've read for one specific person where the first time we read together, it was like, I'm an open book, whatever happens, happens. This was for intuitive guidance, so I was bringing through all these specific things organically and like names and stuff, and she was just like, her mind was blown. And then she booked another session with me, but she had like 20 questions. And so the whole
Hmm.
session was her asking questions and me answering them. And I'm okay with that because I think everybody is an individual. So if that's what you want with your session, then that's what we
Hmm.
can do. But after it was done, she said, I think I preferred rather when it came in naturally.
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah.
example of that.
I
Yeah.
I know, and I think that because that was kind of how I set it up, things came in and out and in and out, and then when you weave that story together, moving forward with that question that you asked, I was able to leave our session and move forward with, wow, okay, that has changed, like my thought, like things I didn't know, like it has put my heart at peace.
Hmm.
And I think my mom, like, she raised me in with strong faith anyway. And
Hmm.
the passing of my dad, she lost
Hmm.
my dad, her husband, at early in their marriage. Like, I was only 8. And he came in during our session, and our dog, it was like just
Hmm.
so like, and they just came back and forth and back and forth, and how the whole story, it was just like an amazing piece of evidence to show and validate that there is more
Hmm.
beyond this, like so much more beyond this, that is so healing. So when you say, like, how did that affect me, I mean, you couldn't have given me a better gift. Like, when people are in wonder, and I'll do okay here.
Oh, Karen, you're gonna make me cry. It's okay if you let it out. It's this is
It's when
yeah.
people like they wonder and they wish the best for their people that have passed,
Mm-hmm.
and to know they are,
Mm-hmm.
and what beautiful, like, what it's like on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
which I already knew because my mother did a great job with sharing those beliefs and what was, I never feared death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people do. And I think having a reading with you or somebody that they trust, but I'm just going to go with you.
Thank you.
Um,
Oh.
it is so like, it's really hard to put into words.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had them and you've experienced them
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
in readings, to know what that is, to where your loved ones are and that they are living the dream, like living
Yeah.
life.
They're
They
patiently
have,
waiting for you.
yeah, and they have
Yeah.
joined all of the people that they've lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just,
One
yeah,
big reunion.
it is. And to know, and I'm telling you, to know that
Mm-hmm.
and to still be here without them
Mm-hmm.
is just so healing. Like, just such a, it just fills my heart with joy, even though you struggle with joy and you're still trying to find joy. And you and I have talked a little bit about that. Um, you know that it can happen. You know that there is still joy. But yeah,
Oh.
I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to
No, I
like,
love
I
it.
didn't
No,
mean to,
it's authentic and it's true and it's honest and I feel like, I just applaud you for your vulnerability and thank you
yeah.
so much for sharing that. I feel like that's so helpful for other people to hear too. And it's okay to cry. I will tell you that I cry in sessions sometimes. I'm really feeling what that spirit person is trying to convey, and it's a humbling and a beautiful experience. And yeah, I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed to be able to experience that and to make this deep connection with people all over the world that I wouldn't have otherwise likely ever met. And I think there's an intimacy to a reading as well,
Mhm.
which is why it's important that you trust the person because I don't know about you, but like after doing your session, I felt like, okay, like I've got another friend in the world, right? Like I feel like it can be like that because you've connected so deeply energetically that
Yeah.
it just feels like like I can feel the energy of a person and I can feel you know energy doesn't lie, right? So when you're connecting to somebody that has good energy, you're like, oh my god, I'm just in awe of this person. And I constantly feel that about my clients, including yourself, so thank you.
Hmm. Yeah.
And your loved ones in spirit. Like I remember connecting to your mom. I don't remember all details. Some people ask me that. Do you remember every reading you've ever done? No, like I don't have the capacity for it. I do have a really good memory, but I am there's a few bits and pieces that stay in my memory forever, and I often feel like the ones that do stay in my memory forever are connected to something that I needed to hear or something that I needed to learn. But when I revisit a person again, like say for you, another, if we connected to mom again, that would definitely feel familiar to me.
Mhm.
But I just remember how lovely your mother was, and her energy and just the love she had for you. It's just, yeah, it I don't know how to explain it, but I can feel all that love, which just helps me navigate life easier,
Mhm.
and knowing that, yeah, times are tough and it seems like there's a lot of discord in the world and it seems like there's a lot of hate, but oh, there's a lot of love too. That's not just talk, I can feel it. I can feel it in the relationships that you have and the people that are living and the people that you love in spirit and the amount of love they have for you.
Yeah.
And that's changed my life too. I remember sharing a couple years ago. I always share around my dad's passing date, which is in January. It's been 5 years now, about how him passing, led me to mediumship, as most of you guys listening know if you're new to me. But I discovered I was a medium after my dad passed away. And that that connection that I have with my dad, first of all, we healed a lot. because our relationship was sometimes challenging. We healed a lot. I see him, he sees me. I just kind of get why he was the way he was, like I totally get it. But also, I know how he views me now. I know what he thinks of me, and I know what he knows I'm capable of. And so that in turn has made me feel a lot more fearless, because I'm like, that's how much, that's what he thinks I'm capable of, right? That's what my higher self knows I'm capable of. That's what my spirit guides think I'm capable of. Who am I to not believe it? I'm ready, right? So it's changed my life in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does. It does change you, and it opens you up to wanting to know more
Mm-hmm.
and trusting more, wanting to share with others like what is available for them too, like
That's
to
right.
for others. So, and it's interesting because all of the stuff that you shared with me, I never cried when during our
Until
session, really. I
now.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I did, but there is that empathy that is there,
Mm-hmm.
and wanting it so much for other people to know that they too can
That's
experience that.
that's so kind.
And so that's probably
That's
where,
why you're
yeah,
here. That's why you're
yeah.
here. Yeah, yeah. I can't thank you enough for wanting to share that. And, this last question, I think we've just answered it. What would you like others to know who are interested in mediumship, um, having a mediumship reading, but maybe nervous or fearful? I think
I
you've
think that is,
answered it, but
but I think that's a great question. I think there is still that fear. I think, and curiosity, which is
mhm,
great, and wonder. And I think that's okay. Like, I
yeah,
think people that are, I recommend them giving it a try. Like that, especially with you, you're so authentic and you are vulnerable, and your intention is so strong that that fear melts away very fast. Like in a reading, in a session with you, it there is really no there is not there wasn't any fear for me. And I think people, like we talked about earlier, you do have to be open
hmm,
to it, and see what happens. And it doesn't mean it's a one and done. Like, just because you
that's
have
right.
one reading, that doesn't mean you're not going to have others,
That's
and
right.
other things. And it's not just a one thing or a snapshot piece. Like, I do suggest, if people are out there curious, they're wondering, they're wanting to know more, and especially for the people that are already like, I am totally in, then you need to jump all the way in. You
Yeah.
you take the risk. It will change your life. It will totally change your life.
Now you're gonna make me cry. Yeah. No, because this is my why. This is why I do this. There's a lot of crap I had to move through and dismantle, and fears and limiting self beliefs about my own capabilities, right? And I feel like part of me was also nervous of the huge responsibility, because I know that I am a bit of a status quo breaker, and I know that I am a bit of a myth buster. And so I just want to show another way. I want to show mediumship that's not, I don't know why the word embroiled is coming to mind, but Spirit's giving me that word, but like that is embroiled with like fear and power hungry and
Mhm.
ego, like when we think of, oh, a psychic medium, right? Like, we might not think about me, who's a mid 40s mom of three, who, has an anxiety disorder and like deals with her own stuff and swears sometimes. You might not think about that. You think about this lady in a tent with her little crystal ball, but that's just a story.
It
That's
is.
just a
And
story.
I think that's a story that has been passed down
Hmm.
for years, like throughout
Centuries.
history. And
Yeah.
you think about, in yes, like you're saying, this big old turban and the crystal
Yeah.
ball, like going to
Yeah.
a fair. Oh, I want to go into that tent. I
Yes.
think it's just those stories that are passed down, and it's so it's just so
It's
different.
not
Like
like that.
I will say, like, if somebody is wondering what it's like, it is like this is what it's like. It's just
Yeah.
you and I, you bringing things in and us visiting about them. It is like this. It is so casual. It's so comfortable. You make it comfortable. You are just so fun and just
Thank
have
you.
so many amazing gifts that the world needs to know about. And this is your purpose. This is what you are here to do. And I love your research, Amy. I love what you research and all of the education that you put in so many different modalities, whether it's astrology, human design, you also being a Reiki practitioner. Like, it isn't just, here's that word, just. It is so many things
Yeah.
that you bring into your readings as a medium that I think has just amplified your gifts, because you do go down those rabbit holes where some people don't want to go. I think you do bring in the real that people need to hear and never thought about from a different perspective. And because of that, the mediumship that you offer, or the different mediums, it's not just mediumship, like you have a whole platform of different things that you have to offer, really, really is something that so many people can benefit from.
Wow. I've been.
A plan, a canal,
Oh,
Panama.
sorry, Siri's talking. Apologize about that. I've been very open and honest in sharing that. Although I know this is my gift, and I had the gift of communication in all ways, whether it is through writing or speaking or channeling, that I know is a gift, but I'm also, it's a place that I am the most insecure, right? Which is an interesting concept, and one I've been really diving into. Like, are the things that we are the most gifted at are kind of wrapped up in a package of, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I'm any good at it. So it's been a journey for me, but I often get in my head about this term expert, and how I am that person that's constantly seeking and constantly learning and expanding my consciousness. And then sometimes I get in my head like, but then what do I do with that? How do I offer that to people? And so I think, like, do I teach astrology? Do I teach human design? Do I become, more of a Reiki practitioner where I'm doing that as a sole offer? And then I don't always take action with those things because I get overwhelmed about it. But you just reframed that for me, because you've showed me that I am taking action and doing something with them. I'm just pooling them into the existing offers I have.
Yes, you are funneling all of your gifts and skills
Yeah.
and learning and all of the things that you can bring to others, because everybody's different, and everybody's going to have those little pieces that they will resonate with and connect with differently. And so
Yeah.
it's having all of that little expertise, and it's so beneficial to that, because if you're just one way, then that's not going to fit all people. Like,
That's right.
it just won't work. And what you're doing is working. So
Thank you so
that is so
much.
great.
Yeah, you've helped me reframe some things today. The storytelling,
Yep.
and yeah, how I am, because it's the same thing. Like I say, no evidence is ever wasted from spirit. They're not
No.
going to bring through something through unless they're not going to bring something through unless it is important and valid. And also, I guess no learning, no seeking is ever wasted either. And I
No.
say that to you too, because I know you were like, well, now I'm down this path and I'm just learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. But I guess that's a message for you too. It's not wasted. That wisdom
No.
will be expressed for you.
No.
I
No.
think the thing, like, I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes I get in my head of like, all right, I need to find the balance. And I think a lot of light workers do need to find this balance of, yeah, you're here to serve, you're here to learn, and you're here to, share that wisdom with others. But don't forget that you're also here to live and learn experiences yourself. So there has to be that like groundedness and that practicality of, okay, yeah, I got this book smarts and I've learned all these things. What am I going to do with them now? And that's where I'm at in life. I don't know if that's where you are too, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wonder. Yeah, I often wonder. It's like, oh my gosh, like what I wanted to learn this, I want to learn that, and then I just have to say, okay, Karen, like you say, ground yourself,
Yeah.
and to be honest, it rolls out the way it's supposed to. It
I,
it
I,
it
I,
will what will happen, and what's meant to be is going to be, and I think we just have to trust that and think of that it's okay, even though that little other voice in our head is screaming at us maybe something else, just to go with your intuition. And that is probably going back to one of your questions that you asked about moving forward is being being more knowledgeable about what's around me, living more in the
right.
moment, trusting my intuition more,
Mm-hmm.
and following that guidance more has really come through after some of those readings that you and I have had, for
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah, that's wonderful. I'll leave I'll leave you with this, unless you have anything else you'd like to share
No,
about
I'm good.
yourself or your next steps.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
No,
Okay.
I think it's just listen, like just
Just
really,
listen.
really, truly, truly listen. Whether that's while you sleep, while you walk, while you bike, whatever's coming into you, like spirit's going to talk to you in different ways, and spirit's going to come
That's right.
into you. It could be with driving in a car, like they all know. It could be through a song, it could be through another person. My biggest thing is to listen until they're shouting at you because you
That's
weren't
right.
listening the first time, but to really start listening.
Yeah, and a reading can help you with that too. I think if
Yep.
you, because I find often that as a loved one in spirit will bring through like, this is how I talk to her, and this is how I'm trying to get her attention. So then you're like, oh, I'm gonna pay more attention to that, and it's like a ripple effect where more and more and more continually comes in, and I feel like it does open a door for people that are open. It allows people to then look at things maybe through a different lens and begin to think about things a little different. And I think that's the purpose. I don't, a medium is not meant to, I think this is one of the myths that I'm kind of breaking, and the ego piece that, sometimes can be in the spiritual world, which is like, I am gifted, come to me. That can be a power trip, right? And I think that's what sometimes people think about, right? Or if we talk about maybe unethical things like curses and all that kind of stuff, that's not at all what I'm about. And I think that, it's just important to be real and to leave somebody with more answers than questions and give them tools so that they can then move forward. Like I'm always picture spirit always gives me this image in my mind when I'm working with a client. It's like I'm that like parent that's holding on to the back of their kid's bicycle. They've just taken off their training wheels and they, you can do it, you can do it. Yeah, you're doing it. Like that's how I view myself. I want to leave you with tools
Yeah.
so that you don't feel super dependent on me. You also know and are empowered to know that you can communicate too. What?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that you are saying that, and that we're talking about this, right before we go, is going to you as a medium is I'm not giving my power away.
No, you're not.
I'm not
No.
giving my power away. I am learning more. I am gaining more insight. I am what is there is there. It's validating what is, and using that in a different, seeing it in a different way, and
Yeah.
living life differently. In out of, and it's always out of love. It's always coming from a
Always.
place of love and light,
Hmm.
and to be able to then be that love and light for others, to
Hmm.
walk with that love and light and share that experience with others, because now I'm changed. I am different. And if people would do that, just think of the domino effect that would be,
Yeah.
the ripple effect that
I was just going to say that.
would
Yeah.
be there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
love
thinking
that.
about that a lot lately, and about, I think maybe even in the podcast I recorded that's airing before this one, I literally said in the beginning, like, that spirit was kind of, I was channeling a little bit, and it was about like, what's your legacy? What's your ripple effect? You know, how do you want to show up in the world? What do you want people to remember about you? Because people remember how you feel, how you make them feel. That's the most impactful thing here, right? And we talk about connecting to spirit and intuition. The analogy I was going to give, or the picture that you can think in your mind, and this has actually come through in other people's, actually a mediumship reading before I did a couple years ago, where I was connecting to an older gentleman in spirit who was the father-in-law of the client that I was reading for, and they had a very, very tight relationship, almost more like father, right? And she used to call him all the time and ask him for guidance, and she felt lost because she didn't have the ability to do that anymore. She hadn't told me that, and we hadn't discussed that yet at this point, but he brought through, this image of, tell her that whenever she wants to talk to me, all she has to do is pick up the phone. And so she started crying when I said this, and he said her intuition, her inner knowing, the voice that she hears, that's me. That's how I communicate to her. That's our telephone now. So she had told me after, for the rest of my life, I'm going to imagine that whenever I have something drop into my intuition, that it's coming from someone in spirit, that it's for my best and highest good, and that I always have that line, like that line is never going to go away. And I thought that was a nice way to end this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love everything about it. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. It was
Thank you
excellent.
so much for allowing me to join you today.
Thank you for offering to do this, and I just have so much gratitude for you. It shows just kind of what kind of person you are, that you would want to come on and share your experiences for the benefit of another person. It's funny you said ripple effect, because lately, I don't know if you've noticed, but on a lot of my social media, I will say #ripple effect in my posts, because that's like a main focus of mine right now. I want to be intentionally working on my ripple effect. And so, listeners, that's your homework. How can you intentionally leave somebody better than you found them? What's your legacy? What's your ripple effect? Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy.
See you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me for another episode here of the Intuitive Rising podcast. If you would like to continue the chats and join the community, please join us over on Facebook and search for the Intuitive Rising community. All are welcome. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider giving it a 5-star rating. If you'd like to connect with me directly, please visit my website at theintuitiverising.com.